Am I the a-hole for blindsiding my landlord with a 1-month notice after they blindsided me with a 3-month notice? I know you probably read that and thought, huh? How can you be blindsided with a 3-month notice? Allow me to explain. Me and my wife were renting and had agreed to a month-to-month lease. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a lease that may be altered or terminated by either party as long as proper notice is given to change or end the lease. Our contract stated that 30 days notice was required from both parties. We got along with the landlords great and lived there for about a year and a half. We never made a late payment. We would often have dinner together, and there was a mutual like for one another. After some time, they began telling us that even though it's a month-to-month lease, they wanted to continue this arrangement long-term. They gave us the whole, "We love having you here, and we want this to be a long-term thing." We felt reassured by that and stopped being so on edge all the time. We stopped worrying about them kicking us to the curb. We figured we could stay there for years, and we were happy about that. That is what they filled our heads up with, that we are secure. We were finally at peace. Then, one day, my landlord comes up to us and explains that, unfortunately, we will need to leave in 3 months because the space we were occupying was going to be converted for a family member that was going to move in. We felt a little betrayed and lied to. However, we understood that is what we agreed to, and we should have never relied on their word to begin with. He kept telling us, "I gave you all 3 months notice instead of 1 because we really respect and appreciate you guys. I'm doing y'all a favor. That shows we really care." Half of me agrees, but the other half was like, "You're still a prick." That same night, me and my wife began apartment hunting. Luck was on our side because we found a better apartment with more space at around the same price as our current apartment. We put in the application and got accepted 1 week later. We signed all the paperwork and were given a move-in date. The time came to tell our landlords. We told them we had found a new place and wanted to activate our 30 days notice. We thanked them for everything, the same stuff they fed us. We let them know that after being told we had to leave in 3 months, it was in our best interest to find a new apartment sooner, and so we did. We didn't want to wait too long to start looking and end up homeless after the 3 months. They went off on me and my wife, telling us we can't do that and that they would take us to court. They were yelling personal insults to us and the police were called. Am I crazy for not believing that we did something wrong? Now for the top comments. Our contract stated that 30 days notice was required from both parties. This is all we needed to know, and the only real thing that matters here. You're abiding by the contract that both you and your landlord signed. You're not the a-hole. OP wouldn't be the a-hole to abide strictly by the contract regardless. But it also doesn't sound like they sat on notice maliciously. They found a place to move and let them know. Landlord wants the extra months of rent. Too bad. Totally agree. OP was weirdly hung up on the 3 months notice thing. Like that actually was very kind of the landlord, because it puts them in the exact position they ended up in, missing out on 2 months rent. It wouldn't be a kindness if they weren't sacrificing anything. If the landlord really wanted you there longer term, OP, they would have switched you to another lease. The landlord is unequivocally the a-hole for getting mad that OP basically responded to the gesture of kindness with, "Okay, I accept, and will use that extra time accordingly." They clearly just wanted the credit of doing a nice thing without actually doing anything meaningful. But OP, the whole only 3 months notice after saying how much they liked us but never moving us to a longer-term lease angle isn't as sympathetic as you seem to think it is. Neither of you did anything wrong until they got mad. I was going to say no a-holes here, as they can ask you to leave regardless of what they said before, and you can tell them you're leaving, right up until the point they freaked out. I'm betting they were counting on those 2 months of rent to help pay for the modification to the space for the family member. Not the a-hole and take photos of everything before you leave. If they freak out now, they could freak out about damage and keep your security deposit. OP, buy a newspaper that morning and put that front of the newspaper in the pictures. It's a way of date stamping them so they can't claim the pictures were from the move-in date. And take pictures of everything. They're definitely gonna treat that security deposit as a bonus month's rent. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling the new neighbors that they got what they paid for, including being shunned by the neighborhood? Where I live, real estate developers have started snatching up family homes, bulldozing them, and building enormous $2 million houses on the plots of land. The houses also stick out horribly in terms of aesthetics. Think single-level brick homes with a 3-level gigantic white and black box in the middle. My home's been in my family for several generations. We have always been known for having a large, beautiful garden. We invited over kids to help with gardening. We gave away so many veggies. We'd hold parties, etc. It's been a neighborhood treasure for years. Until developers snatched up the lot next door, bulldozed and erected an enormous house that blocks out the light to most of the garden. Many of us tried to fight it with the city, but everything was denied. It was heartbreaking. Our neighborhood has been changed forever. This was a link to my family, and I almost have to go through a grieving process for it. The new owners moved in and were not welcomed warmly by people in the neighborhood. I avoided them for as long as I could, other than politely waving or nodding. It was a young couple in their early 20s. We finally came face to face, and the woman asked if we could chat. She said that they felt like maybe they'd done something wrong when they moved in, or if they aren't pulling in their trash bins or something, being too loud, etc., because people haven't been very friendly. The guy says that he is surprised considering it felt like a nice and somewhat affluent neighborhood, and given the price, he was expecting friendly neighbors. I asked if they had done any research about the area. They said that they moved from California, so no. I said that maybe that was their mistake. They said they didn't know what I meant, so I asked if they'd ever looked in our backyard. They said yes, and said they think the garden is cute. I said yes. The garden that now has about half less sunlight than before that house was built and was a neighborhood treasure. The guy said, well, it's not our fault you built the garden there, is it? And I said, well, you guys got what you paid for. $2 million for a house that everyone in the neighborhood hates. I said that I hoped it was worth it and wished them a nice day. When I told another neighbor about the exchange, she told me that she does feel bad for them moving without having any idea what they were getting themselves into. Am I the a-hole for telling them that they got what they paid for? So you unloaded your pent-up anger at the developers on a couple who unwittingly bought the house? You're the a-hole. That couple did nothing wrong. They bought a house that was on the market. Now, if they had been the ones to buy the house/land from the previous owner, bulldoze it down and then build their $1 million mansion, you might have a leg to stand on. But from what you say in the post, the neighborhood is taking out their frustration/anger on an innocent couple. Yeah, but I do get why he'd be angry if instead of, oh, we're sorry we didn't know about your garden, they decided to go with, it's not our fault you built your garden there. You're the a-hole. They just bought a house. Did you research the neighborhood? Is your garden a big thing so well known it's in papers? That people could know about it without having talks with the neighbors before moving in, and specific talks. And even then, they did not design the house. Just bought it. It is not their fault, and you are being angry at them as if it is. Even if they researched, it's not like the house being on the market or someone else buying the house would have changed the fact that the house existed. No matter who bought the house or if it sat empty, it was blocking the garden. You're the a-hole. I've seen a lot of NIMBY-type folks on here, but you take the cake today due to treating people like crap because they apparently stole your sunlight, and you were big mad about it. These people likely had no idea about your garden or what was there prior to the house they bought being there. It's not their fault the house was built there. You want to be mad? Be mad at the real estate developers. That's the actual bad guy here, not the people who bought the house. Okay, but people from places like California moving to places that are smaller and cheaper building houses like this really is messing up the market in some states. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I purposefully bought a smaller house so my mom can't come? My 34 female mom, 65, got divorced from my dad when I was 20. I had saved all my money for years and had been working 2 years at this point, and the economy crashed and houses were so much cheaper. My dad had remortgaged our house so much it was worthless, and the bank had to get it. I bought with co-ownership. So I paid a mortgage on half the house and rent on the other half a 3-bedroom house. Otherwise, my mom and 2 brothers, Josh 13 and Richard 18 at a time, would have been homeless. Since then, I have paid for everything and paid off her credit card debt twice, about £6,000, and I buy absolutely everything including food. For the past 3 years, she has become absolutely unbearable, commenting on everything I buy, and keeps saying, when I was your age, we didn't have money to waste on XYZ. It's my money and I work all the time. She will never give me peace, and working from home has just made it worse. Constantly nitpicking, asking the same questions over and over, starting arguments and then playing the victim. Richard is married now. And as always, everything revolves around him even though he has never done anything. So I said next year when she gets the state's pension and has loads more money, she's gone because she's starting arguments every other day with me and Josh. I told her that she can move in with Richard as he has a 4-bedroom house or find somewhere else to live because I no longer care. She keeps saying, what will people think? All she seems to care about is what other people think, and not the hurt she caused all the time. So would I be the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but like just buy the size of house you and your husband want and tell her to pound sand. Thanks, though I don't have a husband because she's driven away anyone I've ever liked and complained, what would I do if you got married? Where would I live? To be honest, I want a house that Josh, youngest brother, can live in and that my 2 little nephews can stay a couple of nights a week. You do realize that she's keeping you single so you'll be her caregiver in her old age, right? Your brothers are there to give her grandchildren and you're there to cater to her every whim. Can't let you get a family of your own that you might prioritize over her now, can we? She's a grown adult who has been parasiting her child for over a decade. Kick her out now. She can fend for herself. Not the a-hole. You are completely right. I'm so sick of getting taken advantage of. I stand up to her and then she just wears me down. He won't take her. He told me in August that he doesn't want her. That doesn't mean you have to keep her. Go to Citizens Advice and they will tell you how to legally evict her because it's a process. But if she has proof that she's being formally asked to leave, then she will be helped by the council. You know, I never even thought of the Citizens Advice Bureau. I will give them a call tomorrow. Please update. You're empowered by these comments, and that's great. But I fear as soon as you get near your mother, you may cave because she's had 34 years of molding, brainwashing, and frankly, emotionally mistreating you, and that you'll return to old habits. Take care of yourself. Evict her, and it'll be on Richard to tell her to her face he doesn't care about her. Good luck no matter what. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for calling the cops on my neighbor and getting my sister in trouble? Background. I, 40 female, am unmarried. No kids. My sister, 45 female, is married with 3 kids and bought a house about 3 to 4 years ago in the super nice suburb of town. It's a great area. Lots of parks, trails, with a really good school system. I found and bought a house in the same neighborhood. I loved it for the size of the yards, great for my dogs. Love that I can now walk or jog to all the trails in the local lake. It is, however, very suburban, and most of the people here have families, making me a little bit of an outlier. I'm fine with that. I don't really care. I live in the house by myself. Neighbors have been nice, but most of them hang out with each other and have playdates with the kids. There are neighborhood barbecues that I have been to. So a week ago, I'm watching TV at home, around 9 p.m., and all of a sudden my dogs start going crazy. My doorbell rings multiple times, and then rapid knocking. I jump off my couch, look at my Ring doorbell, and it's a stranger, male, knocking on my door. I have no idea who he is, and he just keeps banging on my door. My dogs are freaking out, so I call the cops. He goes away after about 5 to 7 minutes. The cops show up 20 minutes later. I show them the video and they told me they know who it is, though wouldn't tell me, and then left. The next day, I get a phone call from my sister. She's super miffed that I called the cops on Dave, and how could I do that in this community? I'm confused. Who is Dave? Oh, it's apparently the local neighborhood watch guy and school teacher, and he thought I was driving too fast down the street and wanted to talk to me. I was flabbergasted because 1, there's no way to drive fast in this neighborhood as there are stop signs everywhere. Cops everywhere. They have their own police force, and there are speed bumps every 2 blocks. 2, why didn't he call/text/email before knocking on the door at 9 p.m. on anyone's house, much less a single woman at home? But sister said that my reaction was totally over the top, and you don't live in the hood anymore. People visit other people. I stand by my right to be safe and not get harassed by the neighbor. But sister is angry because there was no danger whatsoever. And apparently, this was the discussion at the recent PTA meeting. And since I wasn't there, because why would I go to a PTA meeting? She was charged with defending me and now she looks bad by association. She also brought up that I walk my dogs without a bra on all the time. And that's just not good. WTF? She wants me to reach out to Dave and apologize and say that I am absolutely sorry for calling the cops and driving fast. She told me that I needed to play nice with the neighbors unless I wanted to be moving in a year. Maybe I did overreact, but I'm just so annoyed that I don't want to do anything related to that. And maybe that makes me the a-hole. Thoughts? Not the a-hole. What Dave did was highly inappropriate. And you being discussed at a PTA meeting was also inappropriate. Is this an HOA? Actually, no, there's no HOA. This is partially why I bought here. The PTA meetings apparently have just slowly become a neighborhood meeting because everyone is their guest, per my sister. There are a few other people here that don't have kids or aren't married, but I don't know what they do or care. If you care enough, approach the school board to alert them that PTA meetings are being exploited because non-school related issues are being discussed. These people need to get a life because this is a gossip club. The school board probably doesn't care. Communities like this are all ran by the same chuds, and nothing productive ever gets done. Just one big community circle jerk. I'm sorry. The moment the cops basically went, "Yep, we know who this guy is," you know they aren't a huge fan of him. If they thought Dave was this awesome, helpful guy, they would have gone, "Oh, it's Dave. He lives on Maple and does neighborhood watch." I imagine it was related to that, but we'll speak with him still. Instead it was, "Yeah, we know who it is." That's a, "we find this guy a bother." Because Dave is a wannabe cop and is in everyone's business. I bet this isn't the first time that Dave has overstepped his boundaries. Because he is bullying the neighbors to follow his rules. Sorry, I mean the neighborhood rules.